good afternoon everyone. I've got the privilege of being the last speaker today, so I'm going to try and keep this as interesting as possible for you. Thanks very much to the organisers for inviting me along. As mentioned, I'm from an Australian energy technology company called Village Energy. I'm one of 3 co-founders in that company. And I guess it's probably helpful to provide a bit of context as to why Village Energy is here talking to you today at this conference. Earlier today, we spoke about the challenge that's facing the transport industry, the transformation that's going to be happening to the transport industry, and how the energy sector and the transport sector are going to be inherently aligned in that transition over time. I don't know why it just changed slides. I haven't quite finished. So the question was posed this morning, is the transport industry really ready for that transformation? And I think equally the same question has to apply to the energy sector. We know that the energy sector is undergoing a transformation. We know that it faces its own challenges. And those challenges are only exacerbated by the introduction of intermittent loads like EV and also renewable energy resources. So we acknowledged as well this morning that the grid needs to really be modernised, and that's not an easy challenge. Obviously this is a massive sector. There's a lot of capital, there's a lot of infrastructure, and really into the future when we're thinking about the technologies that need to be applied, the energy sector really needs to embrace grid edge technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and also the digitisation of the energy sector and the energy ecosystem as a whole. And this really is in the context of a market that at the moment is facing the challenge of trillions of dollars of investment between now and 2030. At the moment in the energy industry, we know that billions of dollars, and I apologise that this is in dollars and not in lakhs and crores, but there's billions of dollars that are going to be lost in India and in Indonesia, and that's happening every single year. And we also have the challenge at the moment of a lot of places that are located at the grid's edge experiencing poor reliability of electricity, they're being underserved. So there's a huge problem, it's a wicked problem, and that needs a really unconventional solution to address this. And that's essentially where Village Energy operates at the moment. So we're looking at how we can apply a very capital light, heavy technology solution that can be applied at the grid's edge to give a platform that can integrate the types of technologies and solutions that we want to see into the future. So as mentioned, we're an Australian energy technology company. We actually operate in India, so we have an Indian entity. We come from a background in utilities. There are 3 co-founders, and we all come from having a huge amount of experience working on some of the most remote and isolated energy systems in the Australian outback. So we have a lot of technology experience and know-how that we've used to develop a deep technology and autonomous microgrid operating platform. So what we actually do is we have a hardware and software solution that we implement into rural and remote locations at the moment. And that consists of a IoT device, which is a monitoring and controlling device similar to a smart meter, but it also provides the ability to balance the grid and incentivise renewable technologies. We have an end user app that we provide to consumers so that they can pay for, track and control their energy use both via that app, and we also use an administration console so we can provide data in real time and actually allow for the remote control of a system and assets across that system. So how exactly, I guess, we are going about introducing these technologies. The benefits that we're able to provide really sit across a timescale, and we partner directly with distribution companies. So we're not operating where there isn't currently a connection to the grid. We're actually focusing specifically on grid-connected areas. And we actually provide instantaneous management of the system. So we are able to make sure that we can manage the loads across that system within 20 milliseconds. And we also, within minutes and seconds, are able to control the transformers across a system and individual loads behind the meter, so that we can avoid outages and balance the supply and demand. And we operate a day-ahead price and a dynamic price on the system, so that we're able to send price signals to consumers and shed loads behind the meter to balance the grid, avoid maintenance costs on the system, and prolong the life of assets across that system. And we recognise that really longer term, microgrids and the concept of distributed energy resources on a system are the way of the future. So we consider electric vehicles to really be a part of that ecosystem going forward. So electric vehicles at the moment, from the energy perspective, are probably perceived as a bit of a challenge, because they're an intermittent energy load, and they're going to create a lot of challenges for systems, but we think our technology is able to address those problems. We can actually manage those systems and integrate them into the microgrid so that they can provide ancillary services. So just a bit of context about what we're currently doing in India. So we have a pilot project that we've implemented in Andhra Pradesh in the Kurnool district. We've got an agreement in place with APS PDCL, which is the distribution company in Andhra Pradesh. And we've got a microgrid project, a pilot project. There's been a lot of conversation today about the importance of pilots, and we genuinely believe that too. So we've implemented a pilot that showcases our technology end to end. And we're currently managing that system and providing that supply and demand balance. We've got rooftop PV and battery storage integrated into that system. And we've got consumers that are using a smart mobile phone app to manage their energy and prepay for it. And we are actually able to manage that system in real time remotely. So when I'm back in Australia, I can see exactly what's going on the system, and I can actually do things from a desktop console. And we are measuring the financial benefits to the distributor in real time so that they can see the benefits that we're able to provide. We believe there's a huge market for this solution, so we're focusing initially on the Asia Pacific region. India is our first market, but we're also in discussions with Indonesia, the Philippines and Cambodia. Globally, the opportunity is upward of $60 billion per annum. This just talks a bit about where we're operating. So as I mentioned, we've got interest in multiple geographies, but we're also in negotiations with a few different states across India to implement additional pilots and expand our solution. I'm going to finish there, so that gives you a bit of an overview of what we're doing, and I think it's important that this perspective is provided, so how we actually adapt the current energy system to accommodate the types of things that we've been talking about today in terms of EV. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Powers. I think this is really going to be an upcoming and important area. We as ISA have this initiative called Microgrid Initiative for Campus and Rural Opportunities, where in phase 1 we were focusing on microgrids at end of the grid or off-grid systems. But we are seeing in the recent time a lot of interest from DISCOMs, because as the Indian government has expanded the grid and they are trying to now connect all the villages, there are still issues at the last mile connectivity in terms of maybe the connectivity is there, but the reliability of the connectivity is not there. And there could be actually some very good business models with companies like yours stepping in to help the local DISCOMs which will emerge. Also, World Bank has now just recently announced a $1 billion fund for India for financing energy storage, where again some of these funds could be tapped into by microgrid players like you. So we look forward to working with you closely. Since we are getting towards the scheduled end of the time, maybe instead of me asking questions, I'll just open it up to audience. So anyone has any questions for either of the speakers? If not, then I'll actually just give both the speakers the last opportunity if they have any additional thoughts to share before we can conclude for the day.
Yes, thanks. I guess I've been extremely clear in what I spoke, so no questions. But I'll just add on that. In the context of electric vehicles, what we are doing, apart from obviously connecting the cars and driving insights, is there's a whole lot of AI models that were being built on these. And as we speak, there's a lot of work happening in the labs where we try and maximize the power that is stored in the batteries. So I heard Mr. Manikandan speak earlier. He spoke about how you actually don't need as much power as we theoretically speak right now. I think to an extent he's right. We're building upon similar concepts and saying, okay, if you have a certain capacity of battery, if it's taking you X kilometers, how do you take it to X plus 10 or X plus 20? And we've been able to successfully do that with IC engines in the past. How do you, with the same engine, by improving driver behavior, improving efficiencies in the car, from the information, without changing too much, how do you make those incremental changes just because of the data that you have and the insights you can drive and build AI models on top of it. I think that's the direction we've been taking. Though we're not in the business of designing better batteries, but we are able to utilize the existing batteries better for energy conservation.
I didn't have much more to add, but I think probably the key thing that I'd like people to take away is the proliferation of EV will ultimately lead to additional challenges for the grid. And it's important to begin to think about how we can incentivise the right kinds of consumer behaviour around these when we see a proliferation of those types of vehicles. We spoke earlier today, there was a few people that spoke about green to green, so it's going to be really important that it's not just EV, but we have the integration of renewables as well, and we encourage the right types of consumer behaviour by sending the right signals. So it's going to be a challenge that will require a lot of collaboration across industry and across different areas. And I think the transport industry and the energy industry are going to become very closely aligned when it comes to dealing with these challenges.
Thank you. So again, we are at the end of the day, so in terms of the conclusion, I think this has been a very fruitful day for me personally. So thank you, Srini and CII team, for actually organizing this excellent event and pulling together experts who are able to contribute across the value chain of the system, right from the first speaker of the day till the final speakers. I hope all of you have enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed. On a lighter note, I think the status of the industry can be seen by a number of conferences are held on the topic. So when we started working on this in 2012, when we were trying to talk about this, people would ask, why are you talking about this in India? Whereas now we are seeing a lot of activities happening. In fact, every day there is one conference, it seems like, or maybe sometimes multiple events held on storage and e-mobility. So even if you don't believe some of the speakers, just looking at the number of conference organizers or organizing conferences, rest be assured that this sector is progressing quite well and there is a lot of interest. And as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, I'm happy to put my neck out there that this is not something which is 10 years away, but we are now within this final sort of a 2-3 year stretch where within next 12 to 18 months you are going to see a lot of fast adoption of these technologies, and within next 5 years this is something which is we don't need to hold conferences like this. We will start getting into maybe subsets of e-mobility and have dedicated events, full-day events talking about some specific aspects to this. And we as India Energy Storage Alliance feel privileged that CII has chosen to partner with us, and we look forward to continuing to build on this partnership with CII and with all of you. So I'll maybe invite Srini to give any just final thoughts as a conference chair.
Yeah, I think I should thank all the speakers. Right from the morning session till the evening session, we have successfully covered all the 5 topics that we have chosen on the smart mobility space, way forward. I'm sure all of you might have made a lot of notes, and out of which I'm sure the 4 to 5 key takeaways which we should certainly go back and start working. And from our side, we have a lot of homework from the CII point of view. So like whatever we need to go make a representation to the, at least immediately to the local government, say next week we are trying to meet them and summarize the event, the questionnaire which has really come up by few audience. So we have made the notes there, and we'll certainly add these to our summarizing points, and certainly work with the government in order to tick how many of them we have implemented and what is the time frame. And I know certainly through CII we'll try to post you updated on whatever the implementations that we have brought in out of this conference. And once again, I thank all the speakers, and Venu is here, who is the Executive Director of IBM India, and really thanks. I think in the last a couple of days back we have contacted Venu, in fact, and immediately he responded to attend this program. But a few speakers have really responded, including Dr. Kaur also. So I really appreciate that spending time here, and all the best and good night for all of you. Thank you very much.